My dear sisters and brothers, we, all of us, are children of God, and we have with us the Spirit of God. In the first reading, we know how man became a living being when God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And so God has given man the same likeness and image of himself. So we are very divine. But in order that we may maintain our divineness, we have to conform to his will. We can't do it on our own. You see, anything that man has created always has a purpose. This camera here is meant to, see me and project me. It cannot do other things. It has a definite goal. These candles are not meant to hammer someone. They're meant to burn here. The statue here reminds us of Saint Anthony because he's given that shape. And so we do not pray to Saint Francis Xavier when we see him. So there is a particular function that all of us do. And that function is in relationship to God. And so we have to be attuned to God. We are given freedom to conform to God's plan for us or to do what we want. So what happens? There is something called temptation. This is something that happens to us. What we are supposed to do and what we are led to do. What we are led to do. We must be attentive to that. But we are not, because what we are led to do is based on certain immediate pleasures or gratification or supposedly some gratification that you might get. So you run after that and you forget what is the main thing. This is a temptation. So when such thing happens, what must we do? We must be able to get back to God into what is being tempted. In this temptation, when we bring it to God, what happens? The temptation will disappear. Now sometimes it might not, because it is lodged in us. If you are habituated to doing some things because of the previous temptations that you received and you entered into it, then there is a format in you. And this format has got its own things inside which gives you gratification or whatever. It has got a whole structure in it. So we have to, this temptation plus my desire which I have, I must surrender to Jesus. It becomes tough. Why? Because you have to wait. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. We have heard all these things. But when these times come, it becomes difficult. But anyone who is able to keep to giving what you have received now in this temptation or desire to Jesus, you will see that it will get conquered. And what will happen? You'll also see clearly what is going on within you and within the others or within the thing that is coming to you. Now you're becoming a person of maturity and growth. You're not instantly getting into things. For if you do, then you will have also repercussions of that. You will have guilt. You will not like it. You say, why did I get into it? Now this is what you will avoid if you are able to take it to the Lord. And then He will give you more clarity. Why have I said this? Because very often we see what happened to Eve. She received the temptation and she succumbed to it. Why? Because it was told to her that you'll become like God. That means I will be able to do whatever I want. That is the temptation for all of us in everything. To be independent. To do what I want. And once I start doing this, I get drowned in it, and then afterwards I can't get out of it. There is a problem again. But Jesus has died to set us free from it. And that's what the second reading is telling us. What we have heard, we are preaching to you. That it is in Jesus that you can be freed from these things which are tying you and binding you and keeping you enslaved. But sometimes you might not even be aware of it at that stage. But afterwards you might. And you'll say, I want to get out of it. And how do I get out of it? Call on to the Lord. Because He has died to set us free from it. You can claim your salvation. And that is how what is seen and what is unseen. You can't see that, but you know it and you are assured of it. There is heaven prepared for us. These earthly things do not, last. Nothing can make us happy. I remember I had my own experience when I was a little boy. I was wanting an air gun. My father gave me an air gun, and so I was going about, killing birds unnecessarily. Then I realized, what am I doing? I should not be doing this. And so what was the purpose of having an air gun? I realized that. It was not a good gift. But it was what I wanted. This is what happens to us. Then I wanted a radio. In those days, to have a radio was a great thing. So I had a radio and I was in a boarding school. So my radio was the best. Small radio. And everyone used to, quietly come and listen to Binaka Hip Parade. That was from Sri Lanka. And we used to quietly listen and dance at night quietly. But then I realized this was not good because we are going against the rules of the boarding. Immediately I didn't realize it, but slowly I began to understand it. So this is what happens to us. We want things, but we have to discern, is this what God wants? Now that becomes difficult because there is a passion in us. We want something, we have a craving. When we get it, then we realize the consequences of it. So my dear sisters and brothers, the readings are telling us this today. Look at what Jesus is telling us. What is happening to Jesus? They're saying, Jesus, what are you doing? His family, they're concerned about him. The first part, it is said, he's out of his head. He's just going on doing the things. The others who are scribes and Pharisees, they are saying he's got the prince of demon in him and it is the demon who is doing all these things, casting out devils. And then Jesus brings clarity to them. Jesus is not doing these things. He is doing what God Himself is doing through Him. Jesus is not doing it. The Father is doing it. That is what He tells them. He makes it clear to them. They could not understand that. But He says, how can Beelzebul drive out his own self? He is the prince of demons, no? He will not take this out. It is God who takes them out. Understand that. Then they are enlightened about it. And to his family who says, this fellow is working all the time. What is he doing? He should take a rest. He's saying, I'm not doing it. I'm doing what the will of the Father is. And the Father is working through me. And anyone who is doing this is already in the kingdom. That's what he's clarifying here. My dear sisters and brothers, all of us are living in Jesus because Jesus is living in us. At every breath, we are alive because God is breathing in us. We are not just like that. We have the resurrected Jesus in us. That was before, when He made us in His own likeness and image. But now, He has claimed our likeness and image through Jesus. And so Jesus is dwelling in each one of us. And we must be aware of this. And therefore, our allegiance is to Him. Whenever we want to say and do something, we must do it in union with Him. And that is the reason why I've been always advocating what He has Himself given to me in the readings. Remain in me as I remain in you. Every breath He is remaining in me, and every breath out I remain in Him. This is happening. Only if you live with this awareness, you will see that you're all constantly in prayer and constantly with Jesus. And you have no worry about it. But you have to practice. Fabiola here is playing not because she just comes and plays something. She has practiced. And that's why she can play. So we also have to practice remaining in union with Jesus. And I always advocate that. At night, 5 minutes, take your rosary. Each bead is one breath. As you breathe in, you're filled with Jesus. As you breathe out, empty your thoughts, your feelings, whatever is there in you. It's all imaginary. And this imaginary thing keeps us bound. Surrender it to Jesus in Jesus' name. Jesus, 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 till your breath is completely squeezed out of your body, and that will go. The next breath, He's filling you with all His goodness. The good things, He gives it back to you multiplied. The bad things He takes away. Goodness is filled in you. This requires faith, hope, and we are filled with Jesus who is love. And this will make us truly what each one of us should be in Jesus. And that is how His kingdom is being ushered in. Let us now join our hands, close our eyes, keep our back straight, and just experience Jesus. At every breath, He fills us from our toes right up to our head. Like the water that is put into a dish, the water gets filled from down up. So also the breath fills us from our toes right up to our head, body, mind, and spirit. And everything in us, in Jesus' name, we can let it out of us. So keep repeating His name internally, and you will see that all of this which binds us, which controls us, which is evil and sin within us, will be taken away. Jesus has died to set us free from it. Give it to Him, and you will see you'll live a more internally a free life, guided by His love and presence and spirit. You have to have this experience. Then you will understand it, and you will live with conviction. Lord, bless us all and make us truly convinced about all that you've been telling us in your word.